This is a countdown of the 50 most influential people in Anderson's 150-year history, as determined by the Herald Bulletin and a panel of local history experts. This is our list. The top 50 most influential people in Anderson's history. And now, numbers 50 through 41. Number 50. The businessman instrumental in the early formation of Anderson, John Barry.
John Barry is a great place to start the list of Anderson's most influential people. He's really the founder of the community, and he was a man who really knew how to get things done. He was a hero from the Battle of Tippecanoe in 1811, and 10 years later he moved to the Native American village here called Wapaminskink, and that would become Anderson. When he moved here, he must have really liked it because he bought 400 acres of land. 2 years later, he organized the Anderson Town settlement by creating lots and charting streets, basically establishing the legal plat for the community. But he wasn't just a farmer and landowner. He also operated a popular inn in Anderson that was frequented by circuit court judges. And he was a cooper. That's a maker of barrels, casks, and other wooden containers. So he pretty much did it all in an age when a lot of people took care of a lot of their own business. In 1827, he did a very important thing for the community. He took 30 acres of his land and donated it for Anderson's public buildings. But he did so only on the condition that the Madison County seat be moved to Anderson from Pendleton. Barry died in 1835 ingloriously. He was in Huntington County driving hogs to market when he fell ill, and that's where he's buried, up in Huntington County. But without John Barry's organization of the community and his donations of land, Anderson might have remained a town instead of being incorporated as a city 30 years after his death.
Number 49. Medal of Honor recipient and World War II hero, Melvin Biddle.
Melvin Biddle was an Anderson High School graduate and a worker at Delco Remy. He became the recipient of the country's highest military decoration, the Medal of Honor, for his valor during World War II. He, I think, represents the courage and sacrifices of hundreds of Anderson men who fought in the war. He received the Medal of Honor for his heroism during the Battle of the Bulge in December 1944, and he's credited with killing 3 enemy snipers and silencing 4 hostile machine gun emplacements. A true hero of the war, for sure. When presenting the Medal of Honor, President Truman whispered to Biddle, "People don't believe me when I tell them I'd rather have one of these than be president." After the war, Biddle married his childhood sweetheart, and he worked for the Department of Veteran Affairs. He also returned to Anderson, and he served on Anderson's council, so not only during the war was he an influential member of the community and did a lot of heroic things, but afterwards he stayed involved. At his death in 2010 at the age of 87, Biddle was Indiana's last surviving Medal of Honor recipient from World War II.
Melvin Biddle, known as his war hero life in World War II, lived close to me, and like any great person, especially in the military, said little, wanted to say little about his hero life in the military. But you could look at Melvin Biddle and you could see the loyalty and the devotion of a military person.
Number 48. The father of Anderson Auto Racing, Sun Valley Racetrack owner, Joe Helpling.
Real character. He, when I first got out of college, I worked for a CPA firm here in Anderson, and Joe Helpling tried to get a SBA loan through the Anderson Bank. Well, it required a CPA audit, so we went to Helpling's Sun Valley out here, and most interesting experience that I've ever had, he filed all of his papers in wash tubs, the square bottom wash tubs, and hunting for a paid invoice was like hunting for something that you'll never find, and it was almost that way when it was a colossal mess, and it took a long time to straighten it out.
Number 47, realtor and head of the Urban League, Bill Harper.
Bill Harper was a gentleman, a black gentleman. I relate him to the Urban League. He had a beautiful personality. He was able to balance between all races what was right. And he saw races kind of on balance. It takes both sides, it takes both efforts, and he was a great influence in Anderson. Again, another person who I thought made Anderson the ideal place to look for how do you handle race relations. Bill Harper.
Number 46. The first black man elected to office in Madison County, Amos Jackson.
Amos Jackson was a trailblazer for African Americans living in Anderson. He was widely respected and definitely well connected. In 1972, he became the first black elected to Madison County Council, and that paved the way for people like John German, who soon afterward became the first black citizen to sit on Anderson's City Council. Other local African Americans, such as Ollie Dixon and John Bostick, Rodney Chamberlain, Fred Reese, and Ty Bibbs, followed the lead of Jackson and German as local politicians and policymakers from the black community. In the end, Jackson's legacy is that he gave black citizens a direct voice in local government, and that he was an important trailblazer and role model for African Americans in Anderson.
And now a word from our sponsor. When we return, numbers 45 through 41. The Top 50 Most Influential People in Anderson's History video series is sponsored by Luce Funeral Homes and Crematory. Family owned for 3 generations since 1979, Luce Funeral Homes and Crematory is everything you need in one location. Luce Funeral Homes and Crematory is located at 200 West 53rd Street in Anderson. Visit lucecares.com for more information. We're counting down the top 50 most influential people in Anderson's history. Here are numbers 45 through 41. Number 45. Community leader and educator, James Skeeter.
Mr. James Skeeter was one of many people who got together in this community in 1926 and decided that the young people needed a community center. And it was right after the Depression, right before the Depression, that they started thinking about it, 26, 29. I believe the Geter Center on 14th and Cedar Street, between Cedar and Locust, I believe it was built in 1938 or 37. But they got together, and the African American community at that time decided we need to build this place. And he was very, very instrumental in that. People today say Geter Center, Geter Center. Well, that's where the name Geter came from.
Number 44. Star athlete and businessman, Gene Yates.
I won the state high school half-mile championship all 4 years I was in high school, which has only been done 3 times in history by people. And I played in the first Indiana, Kentucky All-Star basketball game, and I made the 1965 silver anniversary All-State basketball team.
I was a senior in high school when I was a freshman. Now, when you have that kind of a gap, that's where heroes are at that level. When I'm in junior high or a freshman, the seniors who played on the Anderson Indians, oh man, they were the heroes. Gene Yates was a hero. He, not only that, he was an outstanding businessman who came here in the finance area and ran a financial corporation for many years. And Gene is still honored for his, excuse the word, guts.
Gene Yates, there's my favorite person. You know, when I was a kid, I used to leave Shadeland and rush down to the high school to watch the basketball team practice. Mr. Chad, who was a coach, would let me come in even when they had secret practices. And Yates was one of the players, and not only a basketball player, but Yates was a football player, track man, and a baseball player. And he was very outstanding in all of them. And I've always said that he was the greatest athlete to ever participate in anything in Anderson High School.
Number 43. Union and community leader, Adair Gibbs.
Adair Gibbs was a union man here in Anderson, like a lot of us. We worked for General Motors. But the one thing about him that was so outstanding, he was for the underdog. Whoever that person was, he was for the underdog. He wanted to make the community a better community, a good community for people to live in. And when he spoke, everybody heard him because he made sure you heard what he said.
Gibbs was one of those men who stood at the forefront. Wasn't a long speaker, a detailed talker. He was a doer. He was a guy of action. When he would speak, you know, it's kind of like E.F. Hutton. When they there speak, a lot of people will listen.
Number 42, Anderson High School Marching Band Director, George Vaught.
George Vaught became band director at Anderson High School in 1954. He wasted no time in turning a very ordinary marching band into a formidable competition unit, winning 3 straight State Fair band titles in the late 1950s. His drive and positive attitude inspired young musicians to become the very best they could be. Highland and Madison Heights were young schools at the time, and Mr. Vaught worked with their band directors to build competitive programs. As a result, the 3 bands began to dominate state competition and earned Madison County the title of Band Capital of Indiana.
Number 41, Community Leader, Hazel Middlefield.
One of those community-involved ladies. She started the first food bank here in Anderson, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't know that. And she was a loner, so to speak. She knew a lot of people, but she put herself into something, and she got involved, and she got things going, and she made things happen. Her father was a doctor here. A lot of people don't know that. So she came from a very upscale background. She should be remembered because a lot of the old school people do remember her, but the young people don't have that information about her and know how much she contributed to this community.
That's it for numbers 50 through 41 of the top 50 most influential people in Anderson's history. Visit heraldbulletin.com to see the rest of our list.